Jagmeet Singh has been the most unjustly criticized, nay, pilloried political figure in the whole spectrum of current Canadian politics. And I want to give an example of University of McGill professor Taji Ajad, who has written a lot of positive writing, has made contributions, but I think he's called this out totally wrong. And I'm just using him as an example, what he said, which reflects what many have said. Well, you see, the New Democrats, they lost their way with the working class because they depended too much on middle class, progressive voters, the intellectually enlightened, and so on and so forth. Echoing some of the criticism made of the Democrats against Trump, some of which there had a sparkle, just a bit of truth, not entirely. But here, this is entirely false. The NDP, under the leadership of Mr. Singh, let's review it. Pharmacare, dental care, child care, 10 days pay for sickness, anti-union busting. And then, over the years, especially during the campaign, Singh was the only leader to say, put a mandatory price cap on groceries, put an end to speculators causing a housing shortage for their bloody profit, individual profit or company profit, and taxing the wealthy, which was not talked about otherwise, and could give many other examples. If you take it in general, if you really look, far from losing, and by the way, again, Jagmeet Singh's been repeatedly on picket lines, losing the working class. I don't know if all the things I've just said are a sign of being detached from the working class. I'm sorry, I don't get it. And so Jody has said that the New Democrats need to do, basically saying they need to do big soul searching. Let us be fair. Jagmeet brought the New Democrats back closer to their left origins than anybody in some time. Tom Mulcair, prior to Jagmeet, who was a leader and an excellent parliamentarian, super lawyer, super on human rights, but an almost right-wing economist. And then even Jack Layton, much as he is well loved, I think was kind of quietly pulling the NDP to the right. So what I'm saying is Jagmeet is really a throwback almost to the days of Ed Broadbent. And so I think the criticism is totally out of whack. I think there are, first of all, simpler reasons why the New Democrats got partially eviscerated. And that is, again, that fear is a great human motive in many aspects of life, and not the least electorally. And many of us, I included, were terrified at the prospect of not only Poilievre himself, but a conservative-led government by Poilievre, because of the nature of the Conservative Party of Canada moving to the right. So there was a priority to make sure that the Conservatives didn't get in. Now, Singh was also blamed. They said, well, there was a period where the Liberals were so weak that the New Democrats were running on par with them, and this should have been the time that Singh seized the day to say, we are the left alternative to the Conservatives. I think that he realized, and I think his reasoning was very good. And by the way, I am on the left side of the New Democratic Party. I think his reasoning was very good. It was not possible in a short period of time to put that across sufficiently to leapfrog the New Democrats into the government at the next election. That was not a possibility. That is more of a long-term project. But even at the best, it would have been a repeat of 2011 with, yes, sure, Jack Layton got us into second place. Very, very good. But the fact of the matter is Stephen Harper won a majority through our crazy system, majority of seats. So I think that would have been repetitive. Okay, the New Democrats would have had more votes than the Liberals, but the center-left would still be divided, allowing for Conservatives to come in. And I think Jagmeet was quite right in saying I didn't do what I didn't do because he knew at that moment, that Poilievre was virtually a shoo-in. And the priority was to, first of all, to stop Poilievre and the conservatives, which he has successfully done. When history is written, I think that his star will begin to shine for the many accomplishments he made. I think there are some other small things that should be mentioned, and that is that, look at the way Jagmeet would handle a press conference versus the way a very, very emotionally constipated Poilievre would only allow certain questions, not allow reporters to accompany him, because this is a guy who can dish it out, but he can't take it. Basically, deep down, a coward, because he's unwilling to take on any hard questions. So I think that Jagmeet will be remembered. Of course, the whole New Democrat contingent will be remembered eventually for very, very positive policies, which unfortunately weren't at the priority of most voters. I think that people will say eventually that it was good, the expansion of pharmacare, of dental care. Welfare state is under attack everywhere with the right-wing governments that are elected, or right-wing influence that's included in elections. What Jagmeet, the New Democrats, did was increase the Canadian welfare state for the first time in a generation. And I think later on that will be recognized. But it just happened that it wasn't the key issue. These weren't the key issues at the right time. He also brought up the danger of an eroded National Health Service, where Canada would eventually be just like its southern neighbor if it continued like that. So again, I mentioned Mr. Ajani because I think that everything he said was right on, wrong. And I hope that history will treat Mr. Singh better. But I also hope that at some future date, he will return to Parliament. Canada needs a man of this generosity and a man of this caring.